Good afternoon, everybody. Can you hear me okay now? Yeah. We're getting somewhere. Good. I don't know what to say, Elaine, after that introduction. But to pay you or to come back. But I remember that conversation very, very well. And you were right about my priorities, and I'm happy to talk about that today. But I suppose the first thing I would want to say is it's about all of Greater Manchester together, isn't it? How do we connect young people with old people? How do we work together to tackle homelessness? That's what I'm about, trying to bring everybody together behind a drive to make this place everything that we all want it to be. And hopefully we're putting some good foundations down to make that happen. But today I think it was transport that you wanted to talk to me about, and where to start? Well, let's start with the truth, the facts. The buses aren't good enough, the trains aren't good enough, the cycling and walking facilities aren't good enough, the roads are congested. Is that it, really? It's probably covered it all.
The roads are full of holes.
Roads have got holes. Anything else before we need to get the... truth of the matter is, 8 or 9 months into this role, it's clear to me that transport is just right up there because it's the thing that everybody relies on every day. And without it, we can't connect people, we can't bring people together, we can't get this place moving, we can't get the economy going. So it is kind of absolutely at the top of my priorities going into this year. And I suppose the question you will rightly and fairly ask of me is, what are you going to do about it? So, shall I explain a bit of what I'm going to do about it, Elaine, particularly how it might present an opportunity to improve transport for older people? Because I think there is quite a big opportunity there. But if I can, just an explanation of why it isn't good enough. So you'll have seen in the news yesterday a new body, Transport for the North, putting forward their plan for transport investment here, road and rail, for the next 20 or 30 years. And rightly so, all power to their elbow. The truth is, what they are trying to correct is decades of unfairness on transport investment under governments of all colours. This isn't a political point, this is all governments. Money has been sucked into London, and if anybody goes there now, you will see a transport system that is of a different character completely to the rest of the country. You know, they haven't even opened Crossrail 1, a new rail system across London, and they're now wanting Crossrail 2. They have had billions spent on their train stations, on the tube. They got billions for the Olympics to improve transport. I mean, it's just of a different scale. And it's because, I would argue, this goes back to the reason why we've got a mayor, because of the way this country works, the London perspective on life dominates. All those MPs, all those lords, all those civil servants, they all live within the M25. And they're the people making the decisions. So it's actually not surprising that historically all of the money has been spent inside the M25, not all of it, but you know what I'm saying, the vast majority. So that's the first thing that we're battling, and Transport for the North are trying to correct that. But it's not just the money, it's how transport is run. So let's go through the different bits of transport. Rail stations. Privatised in the 90s. We've had a range of operators since under franchises. We've got a body called Network Rail, who aren't accountable to me. They're a national body that is accountable to the Transport Secretary. There's a limit to what I can do there, but what I do know is people here are not happy with the quality of rail services and they want something done about it. Buses. Why do we have so many concerns about buses? Well, here, this will sound like a slightly political point, but I do need to make it because it's factual. In the mid-1980s, you'll all remember, and I remember, the orange and white buses used to get from Lee to the Arndale. It was a system that wasn't perfect, I'm not going to say that it was, but it worked. It served everybody, it was affordable, In that time, they were completely deregulated by Maggie Thatcher. Actually, not everywhere. London kept regulated buses, the only place in the country, when everywhere else had to have a free-for-all, and that's what we've had for 30 years. And people say to me, you know, why can't we have an Oyster card in Greater Manchester? There's a simple reason why. Transport for Greater Manchester don't have the ability to say to the bus companies, you must use these ticketing systems, you will set the fares at this level, you will operate. They can't. The bus companies are all doing their own thing, so consequently, it can't be integrated. And that's what we've had for 30 years. All different colours buses, all charging different fares, dropping routes the minute they become unprofitable, just focusing on the profitable routes, well not just, but largely. 30 years of free-for-all on the buses. And in that time, the number of passenger journeys in Greater Manchester has gone from 350 million a year to 200 million a year, roughly. So not quite halved, but nearly. And then that brings me on to my third thing. So the buses are overpriced, not good enough. No wonder we've got more and more cars on the roads. You know, if the train services aren't good enough, the bus services aren't good enough, then we see the congestion, because too many people in Greater Manchester have to rely on their car to get to work. And that explains the increasing congestion on the roads. The M60, permanent roadworks, I'm sure you all know that, for those of you who go on there a lot. Highways England, they're another quango again. Not accountable to Greater Manchester, they do their own thing. And in my view, it's probably that old story, that London shouts the loudest, so make sure all the motorways are fine there. Oh, and if that means we overrun a bit up there, oh well, they can put up with. That's how it seems, that's how the country sometimes seems to work. And then you come to cycling facilities. Well, our councils, in my view, have never been given enough money, actually, to invest in cycling. But that would be true of walking as well, wouldn't it? Pavements and maintenance of good pavements, management of parking around pavements. All of these issues need to be looked at, but I don't think we've had councils that have been able to do that. So, what's the summary here? Individually, these modes of transport aren't good enough. Rail, buses, roads, cycling. But because of the way they're run, and they're all run slightly differently, they can't be integrated into a whole that works as a kind of single system. The one bit of our system probably that works better than any other is the tram system. I'm not going to say that's perfect, but that's the one bit that Greater Manchester fully controls. And we do a better job of running that than the other bits do of running their systems. And what we've got to do is kind of take that and then build on that and apply some of the same principles with the tram and Metrolink to all of the other modes of transport. All of our Metrolink stations are fully disability accessible. So there's full wheelchair access at all of our tram stations. Greater Manchester has around 100 rail stations. Get this figure, and this is 2017, mind. 52 of the rail stations in Greater Manchester are not wheelchair accessible. How can that be right in 2018? How can we have train stations out of bounds to large numbers of our public? And it's basically because they've neglected, as I say, they've neglected the fabric of our transport system. So the question comes, what we're going to do about it. The main thing I can do, and the reason why this conversation is very timely today, the main thing we can do is change the way our buses work. So the leaders of our 10 councils, as a price of the devolution deal, they demanded the right to be able to re-regulate the buses in Greater Manchester. So that was one of the conditions that the 10 leaders put forward when they were signing that devolution deal with George Osborne. And to be fair to him and the government, they've delivered. So an Act of Parliament was passed last year, the Bus Services Act 2017, and it gives the mayors of combined authority areas, so that's me and that's us, the ability now to re-regulate if we choose to do that. And in doing that, obviously, we get the ability to set out what we think, as the citizens of Greater Manchester, is what we should be able to expect from a modern bus system. Should we, for instance, expect that all buses have ramps on them so that people aren't left waiting at the bus stop as 3 go past and they can't get on? Should we expect there to be enough room for prams and wheelchairs on buses, as we see in London? Should we expect, for instance, there to be audio-visual announcements on the buses? So as you're coming to the next stop, a voice will come on and say, next stop is whatever. And actually that will help not just people who are blind or visually impaired, but it would help everybody, actually, visitors to the city, if everyone had that clarity about where the bus is and what the next stop is. Should we expect information on the bus stops, saying the next bus, the 19 whatever, is 3 minutes away? Why not in this day and age, surely, the way modern technology is. So we've got the chance to set out what kind of bus service we want. And also it includes, by the way, where buses go. So I want all of our 10 districts, our 10 councils, to say to me, as you look at reforming this bus service, these are the estates and these are the places where we want a bus service. And so we take all of those demands up and then we build a system where nowhere's cut off in the way that they're cut off at the moment. The bus companies at the moment can literally just withdraw a service. And you'll all have had experience of that. And that's it. So we've got the chance to reform the way the buses work here. And I need to do it with you. So I need to know from you today what your priorities are. I mean, obviously the cost of tickets is one thing. The convenience, an Oyster card, do we want that integrates with the Metrolink? I think we probably do want something like that. Here's something. I'll just tell you something that they've got in London. There's a daily cap in London. So if you've been on a bus, it counts up what you're spending. And do you know what a single bus journey is in London? £1.50. I think I'm right about that. Here's Kevin, isn't it? £1.50 a bus journey. Here you can spend over £3 on one bus journey. Every bus journey there is £1.50. And if you jump off a bus within an hour and go on another one, you don't pay. And also, if you go off the bus and onto the tube, it still keeps a running total of what you're spending. And they have a daily cap on the maximum that you can spend. Here, you could go on a bus, and another one, it's like £3, another £2, so you spent £5. And then when you arrive at Metrolink, it's like you haven't spent anything at all because it can't integrate with the other bit. So then you can start paying. So, it's outrageous actually if you think about it. If you start to think about the transport system that we've got compared to London, where a lot of people, let's be honest, are better off and they've got a much cheaper bus system. So, obviously I've got the chance to do something about that. It's not going to be easy, but I need to know what your priorities are so that when we do this, we get it right and we get a real improvement for everybody. There's a chance, of course, to look at things like electric vehicles to cut the pollution from some of the old buses. There's a chance to look at concessionary fares, and I do want to prioritise young people. Elaine, I'll be honest about that. We want to give a free pass to 16 to 18-year-olds to get them back on the buses. Because how do you kind of turn things around if bus usage is so low? You've got to get the young people used to using buses again. And I think we've got to kind of introduce a new generation to using the buses on a regular basis. So this is all within my thinking. You'll then obviously say, well, what about trams, what about trains, what about cycling and walking? Well, on all those things, trams, we are going to be hopefully buying new trams soon to deal with the issues of overcrowding, because there are problems with overcrowding, but as I said, I think the Metrolink works pretty well. We'd like to extend it if we could to the places that don't have it at the moment. We'd like more orbital links, so not always just in and out of the city centre, but sometimes going borough to borough on the outside. When it comes to cycling and walking, we've got Chris Boardman, who will be known to people maybe, who's the Olympic gold medalist cyclist. He's our cycling and walking commissioner. We're going to give him a budget to invest in new cycleways that are separate from the road, but also new pavements as well, so that we can do better, as we say, with regards to active travel, because at the moment it's not good enough. So we're taking action there. I'd be interested to hear what anybody feels about that. And then the final thing I will say before opening up to the panel, any questions that people might have, is we've got to kind of make this whole thing work better together. So Sir Richard Lees and I are setting up what we're going to call the Mayor's Transport Board. And once every 3 months, we're going to get all these people in one room. Network Rail, the rail operators, Highways England, the bus operators. And we're basically going to, even if we've got power over them or not, we don't care. We're going to make them focus on Greater Manchester. We're going to make them talk to each other. We're going to make them listen to what the public are saying. Because that's the thing that's happened with the arrival of a mayor. Going back a couple of years ago, who did people complain to when the buses were late, the trams were not running, or it was too complicated, wasn't it? There wasn't a clarity in the system. The good thing for you, and possibly the bad thing for me, is that you all have one person to fire the letters into. So every day, if I look on my Twitter every day, I get pictures of people's daily commute, packed buses and packed out trains. But that's a good thing, and that's the point of having a mayor. That one person hopefully can try and bring some order to what is currently a chaotic transport system. And that's what I'm going to try and do, working with Sir Richard and others. What we are definitely going to do with the buses, because we're starting now, buses are the backbone of the public transport system. We're going to start now on making it work better. And alongside that, by the way, we'll look at Ring and Ride as well, because I know that will be of concern to many people in the room. So that's a summary as to where we're up to. I hope, when some of it's a bit kind of negative, but you've got to be honest about where we are, haven't you, before you can really face up to things and make them better. All I can say to you is that the 10 leaders of the councils and myself, we are pretty determined now to, working with Transport for Greater Manchester, to make this system deliver a better service to you, the public, than it's currently doing. And obviously we're ready to be held to account on that. But we want to be guided by you in making sure we prioritise the right things. Okay.